Hello and a very happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody in the World Affairs Council of Connecticut, as well as all the people in Ireland and in Connecticut from the Ireland-Connecticut Business Council. I want to say, from me, Patrick Dexter, and my home here in the west coast of Ireland, a wonderful and very happy St. Patrick's Day to you. St. Patrick's Day is a celebration, of course, but a celebration of Ireland and its connections with places around the world, and in particular that connection, most important connection between Ireland and the United States. We may be separated by this ocean here behind me, the Atlantic, but that tie is very, very important. It's something that I've really felt this year as people have sent me so many warm, kind messages from America saying that they felt a connection to this landscape here in the west of Ireland and to the music that I'm playing, the Irish traditions, that, you know, this is something that has helped sustain them through this difficult year. So this connection to Ireland, and also connections between us in general, between, you know, despite oceans separating us or borders, these connections are very important and they mean a lot to me. You know, I this year have felt cut off from some people, especially my family who are scattered in different places, but you know, these connections are so important between us, and I think today, St. Patrick's Day, is a day to celebrate them. And from me, Patrick Dexter, in my home here, my cottage in the west coast of Ireland, I want to wish you all in the World Affairs Council of Connecticut, as well as everybody from the Ireland-Connecticut Business Council, a very, very happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye-bye.
A very happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. I'm PJ Cimini. I'm one of the founders and organizers of the Ireland-Connecticut Business Council. And I'm really excited today and honored that we've been able to partner with Megan and the team at World Affairs Council. The council was formed in 2018 to promote economic cooperation and economic links between Ireland and Connecticut. And we're really proud today. We have over 350 members. I'd urge you all, if you're interested in getting involved in that, to please go to our website, www.irlct.com. Join us, get involved. It's free. We're all about getting that economic pipeline going. I'm even more excited today that we are joined by our Connecticut State Poet Laureate, Margaret Gibson, and she will read us a very significant and important reading. So, Margaret.
Thank you. I'm going to read a poem by Eamon Grennan, who in his own person and his work connects Ireland and the States. He's Dublin born, but for years and years, he was in this country as as Dexter M. Ferry, Professor of English at Vassar. He's now Professor Emeritus. He divides his life now between Poughkeepsie and Rinville, which is a little north of Galway in the west of Ireland. I'm reading a poem from his book, The Quick of It. This is St. Patrick's Day. We are celebrating that. This is a poem that celebrates something more everydayly. It celebrates a family of swallows, windborne. Grennan has a sharp eye on the natural world, and so watch him, listen to him, watch it. It must be a particular kind of grace, the way this wild morning a family of swallows is harvesting the cloudy air, harnessed to its wheels and pulleys. They harness the blast to their own advantage, or stop on it for a second before letting its breath take them where they will. Their small streamlined bodies are broad and at home in its hugeness. Their screams carried off so I can catch only the faintest trace from where I stare out the kitchen window, wide awake to these tiny life bundles in daily negotiation with the great unnameable force that lives in things. The way they're beyond complaint, too busy living to be bogged or beaten down for long by sudden swerves of weather, beyond even contentment, having only this instant, quick knowledge the moment gives them, and how to go on, making the most of it. That's Eamon Grennan from the Quick of It.
Agus míle buchas Margaret Gibson, this is Conall Móráin in Ireland, and céad míle fáilte roimh agus goléir agus banachtaí lá éile fóric.
So as Conall was just saying, in the Irish language, 100,000 welcomes to all and happy St. Patrick's Day.
And the people in the gas station, thought you were very strange when you were reciting that yesterday, Megan. Megan, first of all, happy St. Patrick's Day to you. And for our Ireland listeners or Ireland viewers today, do you want to tell us a little bit about what the World Affairs Council does, the Connecticut branch of it, and where can we in Ireland interact with you, and how could we do it?
Absolutely, Conall. I have been practicing my Irish just for you, so I hope it paid off. So the World Affairs Council of Connecticut is a global affairs, nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that is dedicated to engaging the community and the world in all things global. And that's really important because especially this year, we learned that we are all interconnected. We are dedicated to sort of making global connections, which makes being here today with you very special. We have a weekly show and we are on State of the World now, and everyone around the world is welcome to join us. It airs East Coast U.S. time every Wednesday at noon, and you can find us on all podcast channels as well as YouTube.
And what could Irish people or people in Ireland interact with you? How could they do it, and what contribution could they make? We want to make a contribution.
One of the most important things that is so keystone to what we do is keeping our connections and working with organizations like PJ and the Ireland-Connecticut Business Council. So we encourage everybody to sort of follow us on social media, follow us on everything that we do, and connect from there. And we look forward to creating deeper connections.
And I'm hoping that the Megan Clark Tories have a huge Irish background. You have actually been over here. Is it 5 times to date?
At least, perhaps more.
And I presume you're going to come back again one day when COVID is no more.
I will be there as soon as COVID is no more.
And what are you going to do today on being St. Patrick's Day?
So one of the things that is really interesting is, as you know, all over the United States today, we're celebrating the richness of Irish culture. But one thing I think we often forget is that it wasn't too long ago that Irish immigrants coming into the United States, much like immigrants coming into the United States today, faced vast discrimination. But today, the triumph is that over 34 million Americans identify as having Irish ancestry, and we're building closer and closer ties all of the time, including economic ties, like the ones with the Ireland-Connecticut Business Council, and like the ones that we'll talk about today. So it is really, it's really a great day to celebrate.
And we're hugely proud because today our Taoiseach, our Prime Minister, will be on a Zoom call, I think, or whatever they use in the White House with your President, President Biden, who of course is, well, of course he's Irish, you know that.
Of course he's Irish. And we know also that this bilateral relationship, the U.S. and Ireland, is such an essential one, especially now. It has been such a strange year, right? Such a difficult year. How are you celebrating St. Patrick's Day over there in Ireland?
Well, there are 2 odd things this year. One is we can't go anywhere. We're under 5 kilometer, which is roughly a 3-mile curfew, and you literally cannot go anywhere. And the second thing, the sun is shining. That's a bit of a novelty. And I also went out, and I deliberately went out this morning trying to find some shamrock. There's no shamrock. I couldn't find any shamrock. So I'm maybe that's 3 things. But listen, you mentioned our special guest. Why don't you introduce him?
Hi, Megan. Hi, Conall. It's great to be with you all today on St. Patrick's Day. I'm decked out, as you can see, fully in green. And I'm sure we'll have lots of opportunities for shamrock and all things Irish today.
Great. Listen, Harry, you're amongst friends here. And you know the way, if I were to meet you in DC or somewhere, I might just drag you out to some bar. We'd have a little chit chat, as we might say. And we're going to have a little chit chat today. And we'll assume that you're not working for the embassy because we are amongst friends. And you're going to tell me what you think, off the record, of course, that the new administration will mean for us in Ireland.
Sure. And I hope you don't mind, I'm going to quote our ambassador here, Dan Mulhall, who always says, as a diplomat, you play the pitch as you find it. And we have been incredibly lucky over the years to enjoy excellent relationships with US administrations, be they Republican, be they Democrat, and look forward to many more. But as you've already mentioned yourselves, we have a very unique situation with probably the most Irish president since John F. Kennedy, and one who is incredibly proud of his Irish roots, and also one who knows the Ireland-U.S. economic relationship, political relationship very well from his years working with the Friends of Ireland caucus, and obviously during his time as vice president when he visited Ireland, which was great. I know when he was there, he looked like somebody who wanted to wrestle the microphone out of President Obama's hands at the time to get his piece in because of his obvious pride there. So I think there's a huge opportunity for EU-US relations, and Ireland will play a huge part in that, I'm sure.
Harry, it's so nice to have you with us today. Conall said a little bit earlier that we know that the Taoiseach is having a meeting with the United States president today. I'm wondering if you can sort of, as we're on State of the World, if you could tell us the state of the bilateral relationship, but also in your specialty, in the economic area, what is the state of the economic relationship between US and Ireland?
Sure. I'm glad to say it's incredibly strong.
Sorry, I'm calling in through my mobile data, so I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you.
And we can see you. You're looking very, very well.
The joys of virtual connections. Apologies for that. I'm not sure where we got to or where I cut off.
If you start at the very beginning, I'd say, which is the state of the union between Ireland and Connecticut, Ireland and the US.
Yeah, absolutely. What I was saying is that while I meet a lot of people in the US who are familiar with the role multinational companies, American multinational companies have played in the Irish economy, not so many are aware of the impact that Irish investment has had in the US, and that's been steadily growing over the recent years. Our Taoiseach addressed the US Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and I was with him for that, and he remarked that Ireland is now the 9th largest foreign direct investor into the United States. So while we have 800 US companies operating in Ireland, importantly employing over 180,000 people, hugely important part of the Irish economy. In the other direction, Ireland, at just 1/70th the size of the United States, has now over 650 companies that are present here across all 50 states and employing over 110,000 Americans. And that is truly remarkable and really shows you the extent and integration of our two economies. And just one last thing on this point that I think is worth pointing out, and I noticed somebody asked earlier about how that's changed during COVID. I'd say that the relationship has been tested during COVID because of the severe lockdowns and restrictions. But despite those, and Conall, you spoke earlier on as how strict they are in Ireland at the moment, we kept our life sciences sector operating as an essential service throughout that and kept products moving through the reduced air transport links, through freight coming backwards and forwards. And just last year, we were ranked as the 5th highest exporter of COVID-related products. So as nations across the globe are really looking at their supply chains and security of supply, Ireland has really proved itself to be a trusted trading partner to the United States during that time.
And Harry, maybe for all the wrong reasons, we on this side of the Atlantic are too familiar with Brexit, but there's a Patrick Sheehan in Connecticut who's just texted in or who has joined us on the chat bar. And Harry, can you address the trade challenges posed by Brexit?
Sure. I mean, there is no good version of Brexit for Ireland. The United Kingdom are such a close trading partner. So any sort of move outside of the single market, it was going to impact us. That said, we were incredibly pleased that the trade agreement was reached before the end of last year. And means there is zero tariffs and zero quotas on goods moving between Ireland and the United Kingdom, and indeed the United Kingdom and the EU. There is, of course, disruption, though. Even if there's no quotas or tariffs, there's new regulatory procedures, customs procedures, and that's all being worked through at the moment. We're in the middle of diminished trade because of COVID, so that is yet to be fully tested. But so far, I think we've coped very well despite the teething problems that have been there. So it'll have an impact, but Ireland has, over the last 10, 20 years, been diversifying supply and our trading partners away from the UK. Obviously, they'll remain as a very, very important one, but we've added huge links to others, and we've grown our trade in exports and imports with the United States in particular, but also the Eurozone countries to sort of mitigate against those risks.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Harry. While you were away for a few minutes, we were talking about sort of the natural industries that would be great collaborators between Connecticut and in Ireland. I wonder if, knowing that Connecticut is big in aerospace, 70% of any plane flying today is made in our region. Where do you see the biggest points of collaboration and innovation?
Yeah, and actually, I was reading up about this before our session today, and noticed that you have, a big sort of sectors in financial services, in insurance, in biomedical devices, as well as you say, aviation, and they're all sectors that Ireland are incredibly active in, have a lot of economic activity. If we just look at financial services, we are recognized as a global center for international financial services in the areas of asset management, international banking, fund servicing, fintech, payments. We have 17 of the top 20 global banks, 11 of the top 15 insurance companies. In the whole medtech sector, we are considered as one of the top 5 global hubs. We're one of the largest exporters of medical device products within the European Union. We have over 450 medtech companies, 60% of them are Irish owned. And we have most of the world's top 15 firms as well. And then just returning to aviation and aircraft, Ireland is a global leader in aircraft leasing. Pre-COVID, it was said that an Irish leased aircraft took off from a runway somewhere in the world every 2 seconds. So hopefully, as the air transport industry comes back, that will continue to be a big feature. Obviously, Ryanair is the largest airline in Europe, has the largest fleet. In terms of sort of Ireland and Connecticut businesses, from Irish investment into the States, we have 2 very large Irish companies, Glanbia, food production company, and CRH Americas, which is sort of building materials, have made acquisitions and have large presences in Connecticut. Going in the other direction, you have Alexion Pharmaceuticals, have a huge, big European headquarters based in Ireland, pharmaceutical sector being very important to us. And we have your New England asset management company based there with a significant presence as well. The partnership between Aer Lingus and Bradley Airport, and that's been a fruitful one, and it's been growing in recent years. So again, hopefully that will return strongly. Turning to sort of drinks, and Clonakilty Distillery in Cork have a good partnership with New England Brewing Company in Connecticut and developing a new IPA. And I might just finish on Bank of Ireland. One of our biggest banks has their global markets office in Stamford and are growing their presence in Connecticut. And Enterprise Ireland, who have a base in New York, which is not too far from you, has good connections with Tony Dunn there and the innovation center that he runs. And we've actually used that to incubate Irish companies seeking to scale up into the region. So incredibly strong connections between our 2 regions.
And Enterprise Ireland has done an incredible job in getting us off this island. And every week with PJ Cimini and the council, we pitch to companies and we ask the Irish companies to come on to the call, selling them Connecticut as being the perfect landing spot in the US, halfway between Boston and New York, and a very, very nice bunch of people and very, very, very good value. You mentioned, Harry, there, the fintechs. I'm delighted that the Collison brothers out of Limerick or out of Kilkenny, or Tipperary, should I say, whichever they wish to choose, they now have the world's most valuable private fintech company. And you also mentioned on the aircraft leasing, in the last week, we have just, AirCap has taken over another company, making it the largest by far aircraft leasing company. That's a guy called Gus Kelly. And then finally, you mentioned Bradley. And again, I come back to that point, and I think we have Tony Sheridan on the call as well. The welcome to anybody who is on our weekly calls from Connecticut is just huge. And again, I cannot overemphasize, maybe, Megan, that it's in some ways on a Wednesday afternoon when we have this call, it's like just having a chat with some friends, even though there's 3,000 odd miles between us. But it's just, I think you get us and we certainly get you. So it's just a lovely symbiotic relationship. Maybe, Harry, I should ask you to come back in again now. In forward thinking, any ideas on what people should be in Ireland who might be watching in or looking in, where President Biden has just opened up the wallet, there's going to be a mega spend. Where might that show beneficially for Irish companies who might want a cut of it?
Sure. I mean, I think both President Biden's team and Ursula von der Leyen's team in Europe have set out fairly common agendas for tackling some of the big issues around global health, climate, digital, as well as sort of multilateral cooperation. So I think there's huge prospects for cooperation there. I mean, you know, just to go back to sort of, I suppose, Ireland's position within that, and I mentioned earlier the sort of the journey we've been on. American Chambers of Commerce in Ireland are celebrating their 60th year anniversary and have sort of mapped out in their publication sort of the incredible transition and the Irish economy has gone over the last 60 years. And we've seen a very similar journey in more recent years in the whole area of innovation, science, technology, where we have seen a hugely prioritized and specific investment into certain areas of research. Ireland is a relatively small country of, you know, just under 5 million people. So we've had to be very specific about the areas that we fund, and we've done that very much hand in glove with our enterprise strategy. And we've seen amazing strides in research and development in the area of future technologies, future and advanced technologies, medical devices, biopharmaceuticals, biodiversity, nanotechnology, and this whole area of Industry 4.0 and future and advanced manufacturing. We do that through Science Foundation Ireland, who was actually based on the National Science Foundation here in the United States. And although not being big, it means that we can be nimble. And we've provided a really, really interesting test bed that actually has drawn, you know, companies and researchers from right across the world into Ireland. And we've managed to sort of grow and come up the global rankings. We're now 12th in the world for excellence in science. We're first for immunology. We're first for knowledge diffusion. So I think that whole area of research partnerships, we have over 450 collaborations with industry, over 250 collaborations with academia, and a very unique US-Ireland research and development partnership that was born out from the peace process with over 60 research partnerships there. So I think research and development is an obvious area. Ireland has very ambitious plans in the whole climate space. We have a climate action plan, which will be challenging, but we're moving in very similar directions now with the United States. And really, I suppose, preparing our countries for the future of work, the disruptive reform that will come, what needs to be happening in the labour market as well, provides some really, really good points of connection.
So I know, Harry, we're coming up on our time, but I do want, as we close, for you to sort of reflect on the partnership and your best hopes for the future as the entire world looks to rebuild from the pandemic. What are some of your biggest hopes and thoughts as we all go through the next, hopefully, rebuilding phase of the world?
Yeah, sure. And let me just take the opportunity to thank you both so much for having me on. I'm very much looking forward to visiting Connecticut in person. I was in the United States for just 3 months before everything shut down. So I am, chomping at the bit to get out of DC, and it'd be great to meet you all in person. And wishing everybody on the call a very happy St. Patrick's Day. I mean, I suppose I would put my comments in the context of, I suppose, the importance of the transatlantic partnership between the EU and the US. That partnership accounts for 1/3 of the world's GDP, half of all global personal consumption. Our trade flows with one another represent 1/3 of all global exports and imports, over 60% of all inward and outward investment. So despite, a lot of emerging economies and new economic powers, that transatlantic economic relationship remains the sort of the pillar of the global economy. And Ireland will be doing all we can to act as a transatlantic bridge between the European Union and the United States. As Conall said, I think there's a natural affinity between Irish people and people in the United States. And yes, there's all sorts of things about our business environment, about our level of education, but actually some of it is at a cultural level. And we have deep bonds that bind us. So yeah, we're looking forward to playing that part in it. And I'm very hopeful about the future. I think, what's amazingly encouraging over the last while is the fact that despite all the turmoil in the world, we've seen amazing coming together in the research and development community to produce vaccines within 10 months. And, the first one to be approved was the vaccine BioNTech one. And we saw, German researchers partnering with a US company, first approved in the United Kingdom and now being bottled and packaged in Belgium. And if that's not an example of transatlantic partnership and the power of it, I don't know what is. So I'm hopeful for the future, and definitely going to enjoy today. Thanks for having me.
Harry Lester, thank you so much, Harry. Sorry, Megan.
No.
I just want to maybe remind people of something Harry said there, is we really, on this side of the Atlantic, really feel so comfortable with Americans, America, and everything that America has done for us over the years. Harry touched on the peace process. We will never, ever forget what Americans have done for us in bringing peace to our island, and we owe you big for that one. So again, I think it's a perfect St. Patrick's Day thank you to Harry, to everybody in the embassy, and all Irish people of goodwill who have done so much for this island, to say thank you to everybody. Megan.
I just want to thank Harry again. You have an invitation to come to Hartford and come in person to our council when you're ready and when it's safe to do so. But Conall, you are so right. The connections are so deep, which is why we're doing this today. These building global connections is what we do at the World Affairs Council, and it's so important. And I'm so happy that everyone was joining us today. Thank you so much, Harry.
Thank you, guys. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. So, Conall, this was really fun. I'm so glad we got a chance to do this today.
I'm very impressed that you're green. And Amanda Jolly, who's off camera there, she's also in green. And you've taken out your Irish flags and. So you've done well.
So fantastic. So maybe next year we'll be able to do this together. In person. Yeah.
And hopefully, because I think we're going to ask me about my next trip to Connecticut. I actually have a trip to Connecticut booked for May, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. No. We're not going to be vaccinated. And one of my interests in getting over to Connecticut is I have a daughter in New York. I didn't mention that to you, did I? You see, my connections to the States are deeper and deeper, and I have family all up in Springfield, Mass, and places like that. So
you do know Connecticut. What is your favorite thing to do in Connecticut?
I'm a bit of an architectural nerd, and I was thinking about that. You know the glass house in New Canaan? Yeah. I've been there. And I know it's just a house, but it's not just a house. It's a house that I absolutely love, and I want to go back there. So peaceful, so gorgeous. I just want to be in Connecticut. I also want to have a long lost beer with PJ Cimini.
That sounds like a really great plan. I can't wait to see you here in Connecticut.
Thank you so much. So will I just again wish everybody on the call in Irish Lá féadh pádraic Chonaill Díobhar Fad.
So everybody have a wonderful, wonderful St. Patrick's Day, and we look forward to seeing everybody in person soon.